Hello, this is Charlene. We are going to be talking about another Venn diagram set, operations, and Venn diagrams with three sets. And as you can see, we do have three circles. We have a circle for exam one, we have a circle for exam two, and we have a circle for exam three. Let's read what they say about our Venn diagram information. A math tutor working with a small group has classified students in the group by whether they scored 90% or above on each of the three tests. The results are shown in the Venn diagram. Use the Venn diagram to represent each set in roster form. So let's go to the first statement that they want us to represent. Here they tell us that they want us to represent the set of students who scored 90% or above on exam three. I'd like to point out um, something just to make sure that it's really clear that when we have this verbiage, this English verbiage that says scored 90% or above, that is exactly the same thing as saying that the scores are greater than or equal to 90, because it basically means that the scores are above or greater than 90%, and it could be 90% equal to it. So it could be equal to the 90% or above or greater than the 90%. Okay, so let's look over here at exam three. So exam three is down here. Let's use a different color. There we go, exam three. So that means we're going to look at all the students in the circle for exam three. So we have the students Jose, Ron, Grace, Lee, and Maria. So that is going to be the list of students that will appear in our roster. And when they say we want it to write it in roster form, roster is just a list. So here we have a list of names. And when we have a roster or a list of names, we will always put our list inside of braces. So that is how we are going to list our roster that represents the set of students who made 90% or above on exam three. This statement says the set of students who scored 90% or above on exam one and exam two. What is significant about this is the word and. We need to understand what the word and means in this context. So the word and is associated with the word both and also overlap. So let's go and look at exam one and exam two. So we've got exam one right here, and we've also got exam two right here. And we want to look for the names of students who scored above 90% that are in both of these circles. Well, that would include Anne. She's in the orange circle. She's also in the pink circle. And Jose. Those are the two students who scored above 90% on both exam one and exam two. So we will represent that answer in roster form. A roster is just a list. So we've got a list of names, Anne and Jose. We put them in braces because braces are the thing that indicates that this is a set. So the set of Anne and Jose is the set of students who scored 90% or above on exam one and two. Okay, let's go to our next statement. This one says that they want the set of students who scored 90% or above on exam three and not on exam one. So the first thing we're going to pay attention to is the not exam one. So I'm going to go over here to exam one, and I'm basically going to mark out uh, everybody in exam one. So it's like la 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 la. We do not care about anybody that's in exam one. It's like not exam one. And then they say exam three. So let's go ahead and just circle exam three. But again, we need to pay attention to that word and. What does that word and mean? So let's pull out our information here. And means both and overlap. So the thing is, though, is that when we said not exam one, that actually meant if it was not in exam 1, that meant that it meant all of these names outside of the ones that I actually marked out. So including all these names that are outside the circle. However, they want to know the students who are in both the not area and in exam 3. So, like I said, this is kind of hard to get your brain around a little bit because all of these are in the not area. So we need to know what's in the yellow area and the green area. So the thing is, though, is that all of these, Ron, Grace, Lee, and Maria, are all in the yellow space, but they're also in the green circle, which represents exam 3. So that means we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 names that are represented by the set people who scored 90% on exam 3 and not exam 1. So we will represent that in roster form. Again, we'll put our list of names in braces. The braces indicate that this is a set. So this is the set of students who scored above 90% on exam 3 and not on exam 1. So hopefully that makes sense. You just got to figure out what the not area is, and the not area, not exam 1 was all the yellow area. And then you had to see what is the overlap between all the yellow area and the green area for exam 3. This next statement wants us to look at the set of students who scored 90% or above on exam 3 or not on exam 1. So the first thing we're going to do is actually focus on this not exam 1. So we're going to go over here and find exam 1. Exam 1 is right here. So that means that it's not Lily, not Emma, not Anne, not Jose. Means it's not exam 1. It is going to be Val, Gavin, Amy, Ron, Grace, Lee, Maria, and also Fred, Ben, Sheila, Ellen, and Gary. Those are all not exam 1. So that means we're going to include all of that. I'm just going to kind of put a yellow around there. And then I'm going to plug my little label because my not exam 1 is going to be the yellow area. So I am going to actually take out these marks through those names, and you'll see why here in just a second. Because we just considered not exam 1. Now we're going to consider exam 3. So exam 3 is right down here. So that's going to include everything in this circle. Well, see, that's the reason why I wanted to take those marks out of those names because Jose is actually in exam 3. He's part of making a good grade on exam 3. So Jose and Ron and Grace and Lee and Maria, those are all part of the exam 3. So all of the um, not exam 1, this is not exam 1, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There were actually 12 members that are not, I say 12 members that are in the not category, not exam 1. 12 are in the not exam 1. But the thing is, though, Jose right here, he is special because he is in the exam 3. So that would actually Jose actually adds an extra member. So, but let's also consider this word or. We're going to look at the word or and make sure we understand what the word or means in this context. So the word or means this or that. It means lots of choices. You can think of it like, do you want all of this cake or do you want all of that pie? So it's lots of choices. So the thing is, though, is that it can be everything on the pie table and everything in the cake on the cake table. You can choose from any of those. So the thing is, though, we're going to be able to choose from all of the not exam one, all of the yellow area, and we're also going to be able to choose from all of the exam three area, which is the green circle. So that means we're going to have to include all of those names because it's this or that. It's lots and lots of choices. It's a big area. So what we're going to do is represent all of those names with this roster, and it should be our Jose, which is in exam three, and all of our 12 students are in the yellow area that it's not exam one. And so that should be 13. So let's count them. Jose, Ron, Grace, Lee, Maria, Al, Gavin, Amy, Fred, Ben, Sheila, Ellen, Gary, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there are indeed 13 students who scored 90% or above on exam three or not on exam one. So that is how we will represent this particular set. That statement says the set of students who scored 90% or above on exactly one test. Okay, so let's look at our Venn diagram. Let's look at Lily. Do you see Lily's name anyplace else? No, she is not um, listed as having scored higher on exam two or exam three. She is only scoring high on exam one. So same thing goes for Emma. Emma's name doesn't appear anyplace else. We've also got Al and Gavin and Amy. They only scored higher on exam two. And then we also have um, Lee and Maria. They only scored higher on exam three. So all of these outer, um, I don't know, it kind of looks like wings to me, are where the people only scored higher in one category. So these people in these three locations scored higher on exactly one test because their name does not appear in any other circle. It only appears inside of one circle. So that's the roster that we're going to create is for these people's names that have only scored higher than 90% on one test. So that should match our names: Lily, Emma, Al, Gavin, Amy, Lee, and Maria. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is the correct roster that represents the set of students who scored higher than 90% on exactly one test. Okay. Next statement wants us to look for the roster that represents the set of students who scored 90% on or above at least two tests. At least two tests. So when it says at least two tests, that means they could have scored high on two tests, but at least means they also could have scored higher on three tests. So it could be two tests or three tests. So I also need you to understand that when you see this phrase, at least two tests, it is going to be in the overlap area. The overlap area. So the overlap area is going to be all this center area. All this center area. La, 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 la. I'm going to use my first grade skills to try to color inside the lines there. Okay. So that, the yellow part there is the overlap area. So at least two tests means it's going to be in the overlap area because Anne, she scored high on both exam one and exam two. Ron and Grace also scored high on two tests. They scored higher on exam three and exam two. And Jose, he scored higher on all three tests. So Ann is 2 tests, Ron and Grace are 2 tests, and Jose scored higher on 3 tests. So our entire roster is going to be these 4 names. So this roster of Jose, Ann, Ron, and Grace is the roster that represents the students who scored 90% or higher on at least 2 tests. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so the next one says a set of students who scored 90% or above on exam 1 and not on exam 2 and 3. So we've got an exam 1 and we've also got not 2 and 3. But the other word that we need to make sure that we pay attention to is this word and. That word and is uber critical to understanding how to find the set of students. Okay, so the word and means both or an overlap. Okay, so now that we've established that, we've reminded ourselves what and means. It's going to be an overlap area. Now let's look at the not situation. So not 2 and 3. Not 2 and 3 means that I'm going to mark out these students' names for 2 and 3. There's exam 2 and there's exam 3. So I'm going to mark out Anne, Jose, Al, Gavin, Amy, Ron, Grace, Lee, and Maria. So the not area is going to be Lily, Emma, but it's also going to be the people in the bigger universe. So all these yellow students that are highlighted in yellow are part of the not area. Okay. So again, like we did before, we're going to kind of erase these marks just in case it interferes with the other. Because the other one says that we want to do the exam 1. So exam 1, it's going to be a circle right here. This is exam 1. So we want the overlap. We want the overlap. It's not going to be or, which means this or that and lots of choices. It's only going to be the overlap. So the overlap includes everything inside the blue circle, the yellow that is also inside the blue circle. So it's only going to be Lily and Emma. So we were going to represent our roster like this, Lily and Emma. This is the roster. It represents the set of students who scored higher than 90% on exam 1 and not on exam 2 and 3. Okay. So the next one says that we are going to use the Venn diagram to describe a set of students that is the empty set. Okay. But this one's a little bit different. They actually don't want the set. They want us to describe. They want us to describe the set of students that is the empty set. So the empty set, if we were looking at a roster of the empty set, it would literally just be races with nothing, literally no names in it. The empty set would have no names in it. Well, the only area that has absolutely no names in it is this little section right here. This little section right here. So how can we describe this? These are the people that scored that, or these are not the students because there are no students that scored higher on any of the exams. Let's see. How can we describe that? Let's pull something out here and look at this and see how it makes sense. No students scored 90% or higher on exam 1. There's exam 1 or exam 3, but not exam 2. And I wrote not twice, didn't I? Very interesting. So no students scored 90% or above on exam 1 and exam 3, not exam 2. So this one's a little bit more difficult to understand because if we were looking at this description first, we should be able to say not exam 2. So that means we would literally mark all of this, and the area would be not that, would be all of this. So it'd be all of that would be the not area. But then scored higher on exam 1 and exam 3. But the only area that is combination of exam 1 and exam 3, here's exam 1, here's exam 3, is the overlap right here, but there are no students there. So that's a little bit harder to understand how to describe it, go backwards and describe it. But that is the way that we would describe this particular one. No students scored 90% or higher on exam 1 and exam 3, but not exam 2. And that would be um, which is an overlap. See, we're using the word and right here because this is literally an overlap area. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's go on to the next one. This one says, I use the Venn diagram to describe, again, we're going to describe the set of Fred, Ben, Sheila, Ellen, and Gary. Well, those are all the people that are outside the exams. So these are students who did not score higher than 90%. These students did not score higher, right? None of these did not score greater than 90%. That's all of these students because they're outside all the students who did. All these students over here scored higher than 90%. These did not. So our roster, our description would be that these students out here are students who scored less than 90% on all 3 exams. Okay? Okay, so now they want us to represent the set of students who scored 90% or above on exams 1, exam 2, or exam 3. Again, let's think about what the word or means. The word more means lots of choices. It's like you can have your choice of all the cakes on this table or all the pies on that table. Lots of choices. It's going to be a big area, big number of choices. So, who scored above 90%? Okay, so here's the ones that scored above 90% on exam 1. These are the ones that scored higher on exam 2, and these are the ones that scored higher than 90% on exam 3. So basically, we have lots of choices. We have Lily and Emma, we have Anne, we have Al, Gavin, and Amy, we have Jose, we have Ron and Grace, and Lee and Maria. All of these students for all 3 categories scored higher, but we get to choose from all of them because or means we've got lots of choices. It's a big area. So we can represent this roster with all of these names. Let's count and see how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see if that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, we have everybody because the or gives us the option of choosing from any of the kids that scored higher on all 3 exams. So that is the correct roster to represent this set. Yeah, I think this is the last one that we're going to talk about today. The set of students who scored 90% or above on exam 1, exam 2, and exam 3. So the key word again is the word and. We've got to remember, what does the word and mean? And means both or overlap. And in this particular case, we're talking about 1, 2, 3 exams. So not only is it both, we could actually just mark that out and say all 3 because we're actually talking about all 3 sets, all 3 tests. So the overlap for all 3, if you have 3 circles, 3 sets, the overlap for all 3 is always in the center section. So there's only one person who scored high on all 3 tests, and that would be Jose. Good for him. So this is the correct roster that represents the set of students who scored higher on exam 1 and 2 and 3. So I'm hoping that you got a lot out of this video. I know it's kind of long. Just click on the subscribe button, click on the like button, and help other people find this good math information when they need help too. Have a good day. Goodbye.